Hey everyone, hope you guys are doing well for the live stream today. This is obviously the Game Week 10 review corner, but also just discussion, of course, of my Game Week 11 transfers. My transfer plan video will also be up very, very shortly. I just recorded that, which is why I'm a little bit late for this live stream. But here to effectively answer all your questions for Game Week 10, maybe have a discussion of what we think is going to happen for the weeks going forwards, and also discuss transfers. I think all of us probably have a slightly weaker team this week compared to, let's say, in the previous week. More so a case of, not owning Brian and Mbumo next week for West Ham at home, owning a lot of the Arsenal assets, for example, of a tougher fixture at Newcastle as well. For Spurs and Chelsea, what I would call a tougher fixture there too. So outside of, let's say, City and Liverpool, most teams having a relatively average fixture. Outside of maybe you can argue, let's say, Aston Villa as well, who still have a pretty comfortable game. It's going to be Nottingham Forest away, which is quite nice. And keepers, I suppose, this week not exactly the best either across the board for the most of the meta keeper ownerships. So hope you guys are doing well in general. Brandon says he's got 81 -4. That's pretty monstrous with Mbumo and Flecken in the bench. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty nice, isn't it? I got 70, was it 76? 70, yeah, 76 in the end. Am I lagging? How bad is it? It says here that I've dropped 0 frames, so it just might be your internet. I'm not sure what's going on there. But do let me know if it continues to be the case. Some major stream problems today. Yeah, I apologize. I don't know what's going on. Do you guys... Have you guys experienced these streaming problems? YouTube has a problem today. Oh, that's awful. I hope you guys can actually hear me. So Cody RT says fine for him, but a lot of people are struggling. YouTube has a problem today. I mean, what do you guys think I should do? Do you guys think I should rain check? Up to if you guys can hear me, if any of you guys are still around, I'm happy to do rain check and we can do it another time if it seems like YouTube stream is not working. Yeah, that's very strange. Give it 5 minutes. Yeah, it seems like some people can hear, some people can't. YouTube has an issue. If we pause it for a while, it works. Yeah, I hope that will work for some of you guys who are pausing. Obviously, I'll try. I can read the chat, so I can answer all of your questions, as much as possible. But let's just see. I mean, a lot of people just talking about the stream quality, so I apologize about that. But if anyone's actually online and has any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. Happy to answer questions. Marek says he's already made 2 free transfers this week. That's pretty interesting. Pretty early as well. So let's see what he's made. He's done 2 free transfers. Van de Ven and Luis Diaz out. Saka and Guehi in. Ooh, I probably wouldn't have gone Saka versus Newcastle, but I can understand, having to go out of Luis Diaz. It makes sense. At the same time, go watch your own stream on your phone and see for yourself. Yeah, Freddie, as I was saying, a lot of people. I'm gonna just pin a comment. Seems to be a YouTube. Yeah, I'll just pin the message, but I'll try my best for the stream today. I don't. Hopefully, the video actually works in post, or yeah, I really have nothing to say. I'm gonna have to check. What my plans are for the next game week is Simicast. Got a red arrow. Cody RT says 90k to 93k is perfectly fine. I wouldn't be too worried about that if I'm honest. Um, Hey, Janks, I hope you're doing well. Thoughts on Gabriel? Look, it's a huge concern. I have to be honest. I don't really know what I'm going to do with Gabriel. I don't think he's going to be my transfer out immediately, but I think he's a problem on my team. The thing is, I can actually go Lamptey to Simicast for one free transfer, so I would rather do that move. And I think that would be a better position for my team to be in, just because we can see what happens with Gabriel in terms of the EFL Cup fixture. Hopefully, he gets rested there again. And I don't know, he plays versus Newcastle. Maybe we can assess after that. That's sort of my opinion. Any sympathy for Watkins captainers? Yeah, of course I've got sympathy. I mean, you underperformed, right? Watkins underperformed. He had good underlying stats. I said Watkins was probably the third best captain this week. Ultimately, Haaland ended up being the best captain. Son, someone who didn't really expect to do too well, also performed great. We did think Salah was the best, then Saka, then Watkins, then Haaland, and you know what? It didn't pan out as such, and that's usually what happens with FPL. But we tried to get as right as we can be. Salah was a bit lucky. Saka, you could argue, was a bit unlucky. You know, just in terms of not getting chances falling towards his feet in such an easy fixture, that's tough. Of course, for Saka captainers, for Watkins, he just underperformed. Everton result at West Ham, not a shock to me if you watch the cheat sheet series. I mentioned I actually think Everton is a better team than West Ham. That's what I said. I believe someone in the YouTube comments said that he switched off the video after I mentioned that. But I'm not surprised that Everton actually won, or I would probably have expected a draw. But West Ham are not a very good team. That's why I don't particularly think Bowen is an amazing pick. Like a lot of people felt like they needed to force a transfer towards Bowen. I rather go Matoma. It's something I've been saying on the cheat sheet. It's something I've said. Yes, of course the run is good, but you also have to admit that West Ham is not a particularly great offensive team. So when they actually face some of the mid-table opposition like Everton, you can't expect that much. It's not like they're facing Sheffield United, right? So that's a huge difference, what I would say about West Ham. And yeah, that's just something in terms of to pay attention to underlying stats. Also, if you look at last week, I mean, Bowen was super lucky to score a goal. So if anything, Bowen has actually been pretty dismaying so far. But he started the season very hot, had really good underlying stats. But that's also the point of view to say, try to look a little bit more than just the first few fixtures of the season. Try to look at longer data sets. Try to understand how strong West Ham are a team. I'm not taking credit that West Ham lost today, by the way. I'm just saying that yes, of course the run's okay, but I think Bowen's actually a little bit overpriced compared to, let's say, Matoma, compared to Adingra, who of course were a little bit dismaying as well. All right, going back to Orwa, he says he's not happy this week. I mean, I wonder why that's the case. If you want to let me know why, that would be interesting. Marek says he's afraid of price falls. Yeah, I can understand that. Next game week, you plan to sell Reguilon for Zinchenko. Fair enough, yeah. James Ward-Prowse to Matoma. I think that's a good move. Obviously, Everton away is a tough fixture. I just said Everton. I just said Everton at home was a tough fixture for West Ham ish. Just because West Ham, I don't think are a particularly good team. If anything, I'd say they're probably a 6 to 7, spot team. So yeah, that's one thing to think about. Time to sell Bone with Paqueta and Alvarez out? Potentially. I mean, you could sell Bowen, but the question is next week, everyone has a bad fixture, right? And at that price point, all the Brighton players are playing Everton away. Gibbs White isn't that interesting, so it's tough. You had 78 points all in. Better than me. I got 76 in the end. So if I show my live rank on Fantasy Football Hub, link is in the description. Let me just quickly check my live rank. So I believe my live rank is, around 25,000, 655 it says, but I checked live FPL and it said 676, so that's why obviously there's a bit of discrepancy there. But nice to have a green arrow, nice to get 76 points, nice to have Haaland do some points, nice to have Diaby do some points. I'm still absolutely regretting selling Mbumo on the wild card, but it is what it is, and we're in a position now where I think obviously my team next week is not very good. Particularly on defense, but as I said, I don't think many people have good teams. Stream is seamless on the laptop, Jankster says. I think it's back now, guys. I think the stream should be working now. I'm not exactly sure what's going on, but hopefully it works. So Thuram has just scored in Serie A, which is nice. Totally random fact of the day for you guys over there. But yeah, in terms of FPL news, Some people said they sold Udogi for Simicast. I think that makes sense because obviously Udogi's fixture is not nearly as good as Simicast's next week. What are my long-term plans on my squad? So Lamptey to Simicast, then I will actually have 5 defenders. After that, I think Salah, Saka, and Son are long-term holds. Diaby in the future to Mbumo. Watkins maybe downgrade in the future to Alvarez, depending whether I free hit 18. Gordon maybe a future transfer to Palmer. Maybe even a transfer to Adingra as well. So those are my thoughts. I actually think that I can keep this team for a long, long time. And if I want to go out of Porro, so for example, when Porro actually plays one of these fixtures here, I might actually transfer him out of after Wolves away. That could be something on my mind. So those are sort of my long-term plans. I think the team as it is right now is good. The question mark, of course, is over Gabriel, and the question mark is, I suppose, on Porro as well. How long do I keep him? How long do I keep Diaby as well? Those are the sort of players where I think they're pretty close to a transfer out in the future. Madison to Saka or keep Madison? I would keep Madison easily, mate. Madison is someone that you should keep for the Newcastle fixture that Arsenal have to face, and after that you can reconsider whether you want to go into Saka. You literally have 70 points without. I mean, the thing is, we've seen enough of Man United, unfortunately, within the first 9 fixtures to know that they're a terrible football team. Did I think Haaland would get 2 goals and 1 assist? Absolutely not. But I don't think we can say it's unexpected that Man United completely lost the plot versus them, because when you look back at the game, look at the highlights as well, Haaland could have easily gotten a hat-trick. You could argue the penalty call was contentious, but, that's just what it is. Sadly, United have been terrible, which is also why I ignored United on my wildcard 8 draft, despite their fixtures being so good. No reason for them to throw at all. Pete says 83 for me, including James Ward-Prowse and Bowen doing nothing. Yeah, as I said, I don't particularly rate West Ham as a team. I have a few friends that are West Ham fans. I mean, what can I say? But ultimately, I think it's tough to sort of justify keeping them, right? These sort of West Ham assets in your team. Any differentials I would consider? I mean, I think Darwin is now starting to be interesting, right? Just because maybe you could argue that he's sort of in the first place Liverpool team, I suppose. When we talk about real differentials, I think Adingra already was the one that I suggested last week. I still think he's a good one going forwards, but are there any new picks? Not really, I would say. We're sort of stuck in limbo, I would argue. So if I think about value picks, I think we're really just waiting for Chelsea's fixtures to swing before we actually, go back to Chelsea. Right now, it's just all about maybe consolidating more Arsenal assets. And we have to, as I said, monitor Gabriel's minutes. Trying to think. I mean, maybe maybe we could be going back into Man City this week as well, because it's not like they're a bad transfer in. It is Bournemouth after all, but after that, the fixtures are kind of average, so I don't really like that. It's tough. It's really tough actually to navigate this landscape, because actually the one swing that's technically happening is United have three good fixtures in a row, right? They have Fulham away, they have Luton at home, and then Everton away, right, on paper. But I mean, how can you say that United are that interesting going forwards, right? It's very tough to sort of make that call now. So yeah, that's a tough one, I would say, to sort of wrap around my head. Bowen has a good fixture on Gameweek 12. A lot of these players, for example, the Brighton and West Ham players, they all have an away fixture this week, which is always going to be tough. The way I see it, away fixtures are always just bad from an FPL point of view. Obviously, Haaland did well, but that's just, it's not something we expected. More often than not, teams perform better at home. It is just the reality outside of, let's say, Arsenal's clean sheets last season, mostly coming from away from home. It's just more so a case, if you look at XG, team expected goals conceded, things like that, it always favors the home team. So, I mean, so Bosley's interesting, I suppose, as one of those picks, up there in those high price points. Maybe we could monitor Gross a little bit from Brighton, I think. If I'm thinking other sort of differentials out there. It's kind of tough. I mean, I think Hwang's definitely, you've got to put Hwang up there. With Neto out, it probably sort of locks down, effectively a position for him as well. So I think Hwang's an interesting one. Palmer, unfortunately, just doesn't have the fixtures. I guess Jordan Ayew is not awful. I'm not sure if I love him, if I'm honest. So it's tough in the midfield position. I think it's quite congested there. In terms of forwards as well, such a boring space where I think it's only really Darwin who's interesting me right now because Hoyland's minutes are a little bit dicey. Some people might just be going for Ferguson or João Pedro, but honestly, Brighton don't have a midweek fixture this week, and I can see João Pedro getting back into the team and starting next week as well. So, for example, people who might be investing into Ferguson ahead of this Everton away fixture, they might be surprised, right, to see Ferguson back on the bench, and I would not be surprised if that happened. I suppose Mateus Cunha will actually benefit from Neto's absence as well. So he could actually be quite a good pick when we're talking about just Wolves assets because you're moving into a good Wolves fixture, right? Ultimately, it's Sheffield United away. So you can't complain about Cunha and Huang. Cunha obviously showing some shocking finishing so far. I think Wilson, it's a little bit tough with him because I think obviously he's going to get really good minutes going forwards, but he also struggles to manage fitness. And I don't know if I would really be touching Wilson until game week 12. And that's all I can say on that piece. Um, I'm trying to think about other assets. I do think Alvarez is just the one simply. Maybe Calvert-Lewin's an interesting one to follow as well if his minutes can continue to be very consistent. He can be a pick in the future where we can definitely say he's someone we want to move into as soon as possible. As far as Darwin, yeah, I think he's probably the scariest pick where I would say genuinely, have a little bit of thought towards Darwin and João Pedro. But other than that, I think that's sort of the landscape in FPL being summarized for differentials. Right now, let's go back to people's questions because I apologize. I have been waffling on. I've just been thinking long term in terms of differentials. Madison to Saka, yep. As I said, I think just keep Madison this week. I don't think United through because I think they're just an awful team. That's my personal opinion, Jerome. Or West says he's now 13 points off 500k. Should be. Yeah, I mean, look, you're very close. It's just one good game week away. You're eyeing defensive. What kind of? I guess Guehi has decent fixtures. Abdullah, unfortunately, YouTube is a bit bugged. Ahmed, yeah, you can expect a transfer plans video when I publish it, which is going to be. I'm going to publish a transfer plans video at 7 o'clock. So I hope you guys do enjoy tuning that in. It's sort of a deep dive into my transfers. So yeah, that's that. Oh, actually, I've already published it. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy that one. Ferguson, I think, yeah, Ferguson's minutes are very dicey because I think it's going to swing non-stop between Ferguson and João Pedro in terms of minutes. Ansu Fati's interesting, but he's also really, really expensive. So that's tough. Any defender differentials? I mean, we can talk about that. I think Everton defender, like Mikolenko, right, is technically quite interesting, I suppose. Of course, I think Tarkovsky's always the one we go to when we talk Everton, but I actually think Everton's attack, right, is actually the strongest thing about them this season, not really their defense. So when I think about it, probably would actually just ignore their defenders, unfortunately. Yeah, sorry, I think I would just bypass them. Yeah, I just think it's a case of why not wait for what Estupiñán news, maybe transfer him on game week 12. He could be quite interesting then. And then maybe we can make some serious judgment calls. Because if Estupiñán's ready for that game week 12 fixture for Sheffield United at home, I mean, chef's kiss, basically, because Sheffield United are not a serious team at all from the attacking point of view. I think they're clearly the worst offensive team in the Premier League. That's not even debatable. Luton Town, for example, even though we look at them as a very weak defensive team, I think they're actually quite a competent offense. So that's something to say. Dean and Cash feel like a little bit over. I mean, Dean, Cash, they're definitely overpriced now because the good fixtures have sort of half gone. And so I'm not sure if I really want to continue owning them. I probably think that, for example, when I look at my team myself, like Cash and Porro are probably players that I would sell as soon as possible. For example, I might actually go out of Cash up first. Because if I think about it, like after that Fulham fixture, am I keeping Cash? Maybe I play him for game week 14, but after that, he's an easy sell. So there's always questions about that. I think Walker, maybe he's someone to look at in the future. I mean, his minutes have been, exceptional this season, so he can always be a transfer in. But kind of tough for me because I actually can't transfer into Walker. I think immediately one move. But I also probably won't be going Walker anytime soon until, let's say, game week 16. Maybe if I decide to free hit, that would make a huge difference. Because actually, if you free hit on 18, you can start to invest into Man City assets as soon as possible, right? After, for example, that Liverpool fixture, what you can do is just basically invest into United for, well, maybe 16 is the best way because Spurs at home and Aston Villa away are still tough games. So the way I see it is you can maybe jump ahead of the curve, enjoy two nice fixtures, which is Luton and Crystal Palace back to back with a City defender, and then free at 18 might actually have really, really good value for you because you would actually have Walker, you would have Haaland, and you would have Alvarez as well for 2 weeks, where a lot of people might be sort of planning around that blank game week and actually deciding not to go with them. And what's nice about that too is if you go into Brian Mbumo and you go into Flecken as well, so those are all other picks that can actually all double on game week 20, and you can obviously consider triple captaining Haaland on that fixture, but by free hitting on 18, you kind of cover the blemish that, of course, is going to be your team if you have, let's say, 4 to 5 Brentford and City players combined, and maybe there's some value there. So we'll talk about chip strategy probably in a few weeks, and I'll have to make some better decisions on that in the future. But for now, I think, yeah, right now, I don't think there's any too many crazy differentials. The big thing I would say is, Tsimikas is at an outrageous price. So I do think Tsimikas is the one to go for. I do think, for example, as I said, I've been saying Trippier is the one to go out of really ahead of this Arsenal fixture. I would definitely consider dropping Trippier. This is the time to, for example, maybe get some money back into your team. Consider investing into, as I said, a Liverpool defender for the time being, and then actually just jump off. And then maybe we can revisit Trippier on Game Week 17 when he has beautiful fixtures once again. So that's something to think about just in terms of the landscape of FPL. BL says he's got Dallo, Poro, Burn. Which one is to sell and what's the replacement? I think you've got to go for Tsimikas somehow. I think I'd probably go Burn to Tsimikas. I think Burn to Tsimikas is a super easy move, BL. Chris Chan got 67, dropped to 1.8k. Sorry about that. I mean, that's still really good though, because actually, weren't you like 1,300 or something? And actually, so in the end, it didn't seem to be too bad of a rank drop, right? Dean losing that clean sheet instead of cash, yeah, that was unfortunate for people who went for Dean. I mean, I felt very, very lucky as a cash owner, very, very lucky. Thoughts on Everton defenders? I don't know. There's something wrong with the stream today. Something wrong with YouTube, and truly, I apologize for what's going on, but it doesn't really seem like anything's working. So, yeah, I apologize about that, but I don't think there's anything we can really do. Maybe would you guys want me to stop the stream and just call it a day? Is it better if I just do this at another day? It is a YouTube issue, and I apologize about that. Trevor, you had Sobo, Nunez, and Salah. That's amazing. 89-point week. That's incredible. Is Alvarez a transfer put? You mean like a punt? I think Alvarez is a great transfer this week. Would you consider Douglas Luiz a differential? I mean, yes, but I think also like, is his ceiling amazing? Not really. Eric, it's working now. I think it's working for some people. It's not working for some others. So I think we're gonna keep this stream short and just end it in 3 minutes because unfortunately I haven't been able to get many audience interactions because it seems like a lot of people have their stream and it's struggling, and unfortunately YouTube has let us down today. So I apologize about that. I hope on playback that this stream actually works quite well because it says from my point of view that actually we've dropped 0 frames. So I don't know what to do. If you guys have questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. Neto replacement. I think at that price, I might consider a Dingra or just Hwang, probably. Because it's not like Gordon has a nice fixture. You never really want to jump onto Gordon. So, yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it seems like people don't have too many questions. I also think this week as well, when we think about it, it's a good week to roll, right? Because if you own these Spurs players, you can probably keep them, right? Ahead of this Chelsea fixture. At least Spurs are at home and Chelsea are a little bit toothless. And Arsenal have a bad fixture, so why would you want to transfer into Arsenal? Where I think Arsenal actually do have, the swing going forwards. As far as Newcastle, you can definitely transfer out of Newcastle. I think that's it's a good time. It's an advisable time to do so. If you want to go into Liverpool and you haven't gone into Liverpool enough already, I think this is a great week to go into Liverpool. For example, Trippier to Tsimikas is a very lovely move. Chris Chan says he's got Burn, Trippier, and Saka. Should I consider going out of them? I wouldn't go out of Saka. I would definitely consider going out of Trippier or Burn into Tsimikas, one of those two. Eric says if he still has a wild card, I think Game Week 14 or Game Week 19 are probably the two next best wild card weeks in my personal opinion. So those are the ones I would strongly consider. Say what has pretty much a similar question as well, talking about how he's got 2 Newcastle defenders. I think you kind of have to keep Lascelles because it's not like Lascelles can be easily upgradable. But Burn, I think, to Tsimikas is beautiful. Warren Watkins Hall. Yeah, it was awful, wasn't it? But we did say he probably was the 3rd best captaincy option. As it turns out, obviously, Haaland was the 1st, and I wasn't even considering him. But Nate says he thinks he has to take Simicast out because they have the best fixture. Yeah, I'm definitely, I think, going for Simicast, and I've already made a video on it. If you already have Simicast, I think it's tough, isn't it? You might want to consider Guehi potentially, right? If we're talking defenders. Maybe, I mean, I probably wouldn't go for Dunk. But I mean, Dunk isn't too bad of a move, but he's not going to be good this week necessarily. Um, hmm. Yeah, I think Guehi's okay. I think Dunk is okay. Probably wouldn't go for Castagna. A Gerd? Nah, I probably wouldn't go into a West Ham defender as well. It's just a tough game. It's just away versus Brentford. I think Brentford will probably score. Mm, it's very tough. I just don't think. I think this week is just awful for defenders. Like Simicast is probably the best defender this week, unironically, right? After Trent, and then actually it's probably City defense, which is the best. But you can't afford City defense, and you also I wouldn't advise going for City at all. Maybe you can go for just Maguire if you want to go for Maguire somehow. It's not someone that I love, Maguire, but I think Maguire is okay. Maguire, like I don't really want to spend 4.9 million on Dallo, so I wouldn't really recommend going into Dallo this week. But I think Maguire is not a bad pick. If you think Maguire is going to start, he's probably got one of the better fixtures, so he's not a bad transfer this week. Would that make a bit more sense for you guys? Maguire, maybe. Very, very bad. I mean, just very bad week in general for defense. Like you don't even want to play two defenders this week. Um, I'm gonna quickly have a look at Discord private chat from one of our members, which is Jangsta. So your team right now, you got 1.8 in the bank. I think Simicast is lovely, Cash is lovely. Those are the two players I would definitely play. Um, Anderson's obviously a slight problem. Mitoma and Bowen still okay. Son and Salah good. Alvarez, Watkins, Holland good. So it's a 3-4-3. So basically, I think we want to try get a defender this week, but is it worth it? Mm. I mean, I'd very happily own Bowen. See, what I actually think might be nice for your team is maybe just pushing up Lamptey, right? Maybe upgrading Lamptey might be the way to go. I'd probably still keep Burn in your team. Just trying to think, like, you can't really go into an Arsenal defender. It's not like Porro's incredible. I'm not sure if Porro really is the transfer for you. And an Aston Villa defender just doesn't seem to make too much sense. Is it too bad of a week for Taylor? I think it is, isn't it? Because who are Burnley facing next week? They're facing Crystal Palace, aren't they? Maybe you just play Taylor, honestly. Maybe you play Taylor. Tough one there. I guess you could just reluctantly play Taylor or Burn. I would probably actually just play Taylor, and maybe I would just roll the transfer. Because the way I see it is, I mean, there's no one in the midfield right now that I would transfer that's incredible. Unless you want to go Mbumo this week from Bowen. I don't think that's a bad transfer, actually. I know Mbumo has bad fixtures on Gameweek 12 and 13, but the question is, do you like? I think is Mbumo a better long-term pick than Bowen? Personally, I think he is. So you could maybe save some money by doing that. Because I like keeping Mitoma, I think, for the long term. And then your defense, like, how much can you really upgrade by going to Dallo this week? Do you want to go Dallo? Do you want to spend that 1.0 million? I don't think it makes sense. So I'd probably keep your team. I'd probably roll. I'd consider rolling genuinely, and I would consider playing Taylor ahead of Burn. But if Lamptey's fit, I mean, I'd play Lamptey too. Leho. How are you, Yala? You sent, so I've responded to you, Janks. I hope that works. I think starting Taylor makes sense, guys. You're going to use your all-out attack chip this week. What does that mean? You mean your free hit chip? Free hit chip? Protagonist says, should I take an 8-point hit to get Salah? Probably not, mate. I mean, I'm gonna captain Holland, and I probably wouldn't advise taking a -8 for going for Salah this week. If you really wanted to go Salah, I think honestly the best week was probably game week 8 or game week 9, and now I think it's a little bit too late to sort of make a gigantic hit for Salah. Unless you want to go. I mean, maybe it makes sense. Like if you see yourself captaining Salah a lot, then go for it. Please don't end the stream. I mean, I'm hoping it works now. Um, what is your plan with Gordon? I mean, I have to sort of reluctantly play him, right? You could play Archer over him, but keep in mind Archer was benched as well. So, I mean, what is our best case scenario? I think the best case scenario is if in the EFL Cup fixture you have a situation where maybe Gordon gets benched in the EFL Cup and he gets rested, and hopefully he's prepared for the Arsenal fixture. And in that situation, I don't really mind playing Gordon there. And yeah, hoping for the best. Do you think wildcarding in Game Week 19 will still be of big value if you're in a situation to save? I mean, look, if you did a wildcard in Game Week 8 or 10, I do think Game Week 19 will have some value inevitably, right? We talked about how you can go for all these city picks from Game Week 16 onwards, so that's going to give you some short-term value for sure. I definitely think there is some value there. Who should I buy instead of Udogi around 5.3 million budget? I would just say Simicas. Is Mitro? You mean Mitoma? Um, I mean, Mitoma's still a good option. He didn't score today, but it doesn't mean he's a bad pick. You're so mad you didn't captain Holland. I wasn't thinking about Holland at all, I have to admit. I mean, he was not on my mind. And he did incredible. Good for him. Yeah, I think right now, like, Simicast looks like a gift. So I'll probably go into Simicast myself. Who do you prefer, Nketiah or James Prowse? I mean, Nketiah's versus Newcastle, so I probably prefer. Sorry, James Prowse. What am I saying? João Pedro. I'd probably prefer João Pedro now after the hat trick. You already have Simicast. Yeah, it's tough, isn't it? 5.3. I honestly I wouldn't force defender transfers this week, right? Because for me, I would say, do you have Taylor? Why not just play Taylor this week? I know it feels bad, but you can go for players like Maguire or Dallo, but do you want to spend money on Man United defense? You probably don't. You know, if we're being honest, you probably don't. So I think it's a tough situation where you kind of just have to stomach it, like stomach having a weak defense this week. You see that grin on my face? I'm not gonna say that word, Yala, but yeah, I see what you mean. 54 all out this week, Ben C. Sorry about that. That's tough, of course. James Prowse. Sorry. You want to transfer out James Ward Prowse, best transfer. Let me see. You know, I reckon Huang? Huang maybe? Huang could be nice. I think you can just downgrade to Huang is not a bad call. The question, of course, is whether you actually like going into Huang, right? Because keep in mind Huang also has to go to the Asian Cup, which means he might miss out some fixtures in Game Week 21, but that's super far away. Like who really cares, right? So yeah. I just lost on draft again. I'm looking at my draft team, guys. I'll show you guys. I'm getting destroyed on draft. It's not even funny at this point. I'm ninth in this league, and then in the content creators league, I'm cooking. I'm like cooking big time in this league. In fact, I'm basically farming this league right now because if you look at total points, I'm like 100 points over the first place guy. So it's just a matter of time. Like the team I've created is basically as good as an FPL draft. Although obviously, look, Solanke's going to be bad this week, so I can't really play him. And I think Paqueta accumulated, what, 5 yellow cards? Yeah, so he's getting suspended, so that's not happening. Mr. Huang Ki-chan's coming into the team. That's nice. Got like a superstar backline as well. Even though Trent's done nothing this season, nothing. I mean, who can I sign and transfer for this week? The thing is, the way I see it is like on draft, you can clearly go for these sort of 1 week punts with some of these players. Like for example, I can probably go Ayu from Baketa. It's not a bad pick, not a bad move. But the problem is in FPL when we have all these bad teams and bad players this week on Game Week 11, I think we're better served holding your transfer unless you can. If you don't already have Simicast, like obviously with Simicast, but if you're for example looking to go short term and move out of like some picks, unless you can go for Huang for example, then yeah, I think Huang and Taylor are your best options in terms of just playing like a on paper weak pick, and just enjoying this week. Man, what a terrible. I guess I could go Dallo. That would be nice. I can't even upgrade though, can I? Is Dallo an upgrade to Pow? Maybe I can upgrade Dean. It feels wrong though. Feels wrong. Feels so wrong. Even though he's got Luton at home, I might do that move. Maybe go Pow. As in Pow, because Pow's place in the team is safe. See, these are the I can only make transfers on draft because this is what FPL has come to. There's no transfers to make. Is it a good idea to sell Darwin to Alvarez? I don't think it's a good idea. I mean, Darwin still has Luton Town away, so I'd probably keep him. What about Fernandes instead of Son? I'd probably keep Son. To be honest, I feel really because Fernandes is very close to 5 yellow cards. Marek says he feels bad. He feels bad. He doesn't have Son. I mean, look, I think most people have one or the other, so you can't feel too bad. Yudai says, "Is Saka a must or should we keep Madison?" I don't think Saka's a must at all in Game Week 11. If you didn't go for Saka in Game Week 10, don't go for him until Game Week 12. Ben C says Johnston, Cash, Trippier, Simicas. Look, I would. I mean, if you want a wildcard Game Week 14, I would just go. Well, you've already got Simicas. You got Trippier, who you probably have to reluctantly play next week. Udogi's tough. I mean, Udogi is actually probably going to be back fit, right? So maybe yeah, I think your team's actually really good. Like you can play Cash, you can play Trippier, you can play Simicas. You'll play Fernandes, Son, Saka, Adingra, and Bumo. Wow, that's an incredible team, and you got three at the front as well. I mean, who are you benching next week? Are you benching Adingra? You probably bench Adingra, right? Yeah, I think you bench Adingra and you'll probably enjoy life. I think your team is really good, Ben, for a role. What are your thoughts on the Gabriel benching? Very tough, very tough. I think my issue is that I can't tell whether it's just like a natural rest because I know Kiwior is going to take minutes from Gabriel. That's a given now. But the question I suppose is, do I keep Gabriel for Burnley? I think what I might do is just keep Gabriel for Burnley, and if he doesn't play in that fixture, then obviously I've got to transfer out. Gabriel didn't play. Yeah, of course, yeah, many people expected him to give points because he was playing this team called Sheffield United, which are awful, and he didn't play, so it's very unfortunate. Gabriel to United defender. I think you could do that for if you really want to jump the gun on moving out of Gabriel. I think you could do that, but I think you can also just simply wait for game week because, for example, on game week 12, we can hopefully get some news on Gabriel and whether he's going to play or not, things like that. Should I bench Trippier? I mean, who are you actually going to bench Trippier for? Why are you favoring captaining Holland over Salah next week? I mean, just home versus away. Home versus away makes a huge difference for me. Did I see Kane's halfway line shot? Yeah, I did. I also saw Jude Bellingham score 2 goals in the Clasico. Huge win for us. Let's go. What to do with Neto? I would go Huang probably. Am I a Real Madrid fan? Yes, I am. I'd probably go Adingra or Huang and consider one of them. How can you get Holland? Should you buy Holland and sell Alvarez or Watkins? I'd probably sell Watkins next week if you're going to sell one of the two between Alvarez and Watkins. If you really, really, really want Holland. Which team do I support in the Premier League? None so far, unfortunately. I'm unbiased, I would say. An unbiased Premier League supporter. Yeah. I think it's a good position to be in, you know, in a sense, like being unbiased. Because it means that on FPL, I don't make any decisions based on like, you know, oh, I like Arsenal or I like City or I don't like this team and this team's a rival. So I've never really made any decisions coming down to bias. But honestly, United were terrible today. You know, I've got to be honest. Like United were shocking. Like Haaland really should have had 2 goals, 1 assist, and he got 2 goals, 1 assist. But Foden could have scored 2 goals. Um, yeah, just an overall shocking performance from that team. So what can you do sometimes? I think United are awful. Like, do I want to step into a United team? Not really. Not really. Do I want to invest into them? I don't see it myself. Aston Villa were once again very, very good. I mean, they thoroughly deserved those 3 goals. Watkins deserved something. He deserved probably 1 goal, 1 assist himself. Zaniolo could have scored. I mean, Diaby was a bit lucky, really, to get 1 goal, 1 assist from nothing, really. If we're being honest, like Diaby didn't play amazing today, but he got the goals, which is what you need in FPL too. Would I sell you dog? You're a botman. You meant robot. Who's robot man? I'm so confused. I'd probably sell botman first. I'm so poor I can only get Sar for my fifth Sar. Okay, that's pretty tough. You think you're gonna bench a Dingra? You're going to Brighton versus Everton, so reluctantly, yeah. Yeah, I mean it's a tough fixture. It's Everton away, so you'll probably take it. How's my UCL fantasy going? Let's have a look. How am I doing? I don't really know. Probably like top 20k. I'm not sure. No, sorry, top 22k. Not too good, not too good, but I'm trying my best. I mean, honestly, as it turns out, I mean, look at how bad this was. Lewandowski, Haaland, Kane, Sane, Odegaard, Saka, Davies, Gosens. How can all of these players blank? I mean, playing versus Copenhagen, playing versus Porto, playing versus Leipzig. I mean, Lens as well. Like, you know, I won't complain. I won't complain. I've had good luck on most of the games this year, so that game week 2 limitless was awful though. So let's not talk about that ever again. Um, I would probably sell Botman though, just going back to the Udogi point, because I think Udogi's probably going to be fit this week, especially since he was out of the squad. And let's just wait for Angie's press conference. You've just gotten just 1 captaincy. This correct? I mean, I do not believe that you've only gotten 1 captaincy correct so far, given the fact that you're 1.8k in the world. So I don't believe that. But yeah, the stream doesn't seem to be working too well. The chat's a little bit slow today, and I think I've answered all your questions. So I'm probably going to log off now. It's been a 45-minute stream. I hope you guys have enjoyed. I've been fortunate enough to get a green arrow. I hope you guys will get some better greens in the future, and I will definitely be releasing the preview, the cheat sheet, and all other content later this week. No wildcard video, of course. I just don't think there's a point to wildcard. And yeah, I hope you guys take care, and I'll see you guys very shortly.